And before we leave, Alistair, I have to say, your selection of pins to wear are outstanding. You have tremendous style, and I appreciate you wearing that and supporting the channel. That's awesome. Are silver and gold holding their own in times of hyperinflation? How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Empire Precious Metals. Stormy here. If you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a guy in a I keep forgetting. If you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a guy talking about precious metals and collectibles, so make sure you blast that subscribe button, get the bell notification clicked, and that way you get updated with any new content. Today, I want to talk about silver and gold and how they are holding up against inflation. Now, a lot of us have been complaining about the insane amount of gas prices, the price of milk, bread, eggs, anything that you're looking to buy, electronics, services, lumber. Everything is inflated right now. In fact, right now we are seeing inflation is at an 8.6% rate, and it's expected to continue to increase upwards of 15 to 17%, according to some experts. That being said, how are silver and gold stacking up against inflation? Well, right now we have seen that the silver and gold prices in terms of spot have been relatively flat. And some people who are into trading, whether it be stocks, crypto, foreign exchange currencies, you name it, a lot of people think that that happens to actually be a win. If it's flat while everything else is down, that's considered a win. Now, even though inflation is at 8.6%, we are seeing that the premiums of silver and gold have started to come down a little bit, which is a good thing for us in the stacking community. So now, how does silver and gold stack up against inflation when it comes to maintaining and storing and preserving your wealth? Today, I have a very special guest on the channel, Alistair Still. He is the CEO of GoldMining Inc. He's been on the channel before, and I invited him on again because he happens to be a Star Wars fan. So anybody who's a Star Wars fan is okay by me, but he's actually going to talk about this in a little bit more detail because he can explain it a lot better than I can since he is in that industry. So definitely, I want you guys to stick around and see what Alistair and I have to say about silver and gold during times of hyperinflation. Everybody, I'm really excited to have with me again, CEO of GoldMining Inc., Alistair Still. Alistair, how the heck are you, buddy?
I'm doing very well today. Thanks very much for having me on.
So you were very shocked when I was sitting here waiting for you on the Zoom. You're like, who the heck is this dude without that helmet on his head?
Well, it's a lot better than a Darth Vader reveal. You clean up better than he did. So
thank you. Yeah, no, that guy definitely had some things against him. No, but I appreciate you taking the time. You know, it's been like 4 months since we last spoke, and my gosh, there's been a ton of stuff that's been happening, you know, in the markets, but more excitingly, you had some really recent exciting news coming out of Colombia. I think it was La Garucha target in the Lamina project. Can you speak to this really exciting news real quick?
yeah, absolutely. It's an important event for our company. It's really our first drill program we've been on. We've been accumulating assets, and the message has always been we want to unlock value from them, and what better way than to launch on an exciting exploration program. And we've started a project, our drill program at our target called La Garucha, which is on our Lamina project. We had a PEA out on that project earlier this year, so it's an advanced project. It shows great economic potential. There was over $300 million in NAV in that project already, but what we saw was potential to expand the resources. And that's what the drilling at La Garucha is designed to do. And the first two holes that we announced, we think were very successful. We announced that we've hit a very large mineralized system. In fact, you know, the headline number that people can see on our website was 345 meters at 0.74 gram per ton gold equivalent. So very broad zone of mineralization with gold and copper. And encouraging for us is that hole actually ended in high grade, some of the highest grades in the hole in the last sample interval. So we will be actually deepening that hole to see how big the system can get. Wow. But it's a great start to the program. We're very encouraged by that, and it will ultimately lead to work further this year where we'll build a modified and update the resource model and see what impact that can have by adding resources to that project.
Now, did it essentially, I mean, were you guys expecting you know, I guess not as much material in the ground as you are starting to find? Is that by and large kind of like what's happening there?
Well, we're never quite sure what you're going to find, but we had good indications. There was a strong indications of a target. The last drilling there was in 2011, so there's been
Okay.
quite a gap. We had some new geophysical interpretation of that data. There was an expansion of some of the property boundaries, so we had more room to drill. And this was a step out. This stepped us out a further 100 meters, so a significant distance away, trying to grow the target. And we had good, strong results in the first hole. We will continue that step out approach. The next section of holes will be a further 100 meters away as we continue to add our confidence and build the step out as something that we think could be a significant size to this operation here, or this proposed
I mean,
operation.
that is really exciting news. I'm just curious, how come there was such a gap between that 2011 drilling and then you kind of started resuming, drilling into the ground in that area? What was kind of that pause there?
Well, it's a great question. A couple of reasons led to it. One was we extended the property boundary, so we added some extra ground in that time period,
Okay.
and also that past drilling was by a previous operator. Previous operator was acquired by GoldMining, and really GoldMining's strategy previously had not been focused on a direct on the ground approach. It was more on accumulating assets at opportune moments. Since I joined the company, we've built up a much stronger technical team now, and we're going to be very focused on unlocking value on the projects we have by doing direct work. So that's why we targeted drilling at La Garucha,
Okay.
and it's also why we have a couple of other key catalysts that we can talk about today. And sort of on the back of this announcement, we also made an announcement last week where we actually formed a new partnership where we're divesting one of our assets, a non-core asset that is a little smaller. It was
Hmm.
only recently acquired by our company in 2020. And it was acquired for around $1 million. And we've announced the transaction last week with a company called Nev Gold, who are a very strong explorer in the region, want to expand their profile. And we've managed to daylight a headline number of 16.5 million.
Oh, that's a nice return.
It's a nice return.
16 and
And
a
what
half times. That's incredible.
Well, what I like about the transaction is also it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Nev Gold adds a good project to their portfolio, which we think is drill ready. They plan to go and drill it. In fact, they have a commitment to spend over $2 million on the project, which will largely be in diamond drilling. And GoldMining stands to gain further from upside because we're taking a position of equity in their company. So if they have success on that project, or in fact on their initial project, which is in Nevada, where they're currently drilling, we also stand to benefit. So it's a win-win for both sides. We've unlocked immediate value, but we also share in the upside as they advance the project.
Really exciting news. Absolutely. Let me ask you now, because everybody is curious about what's going on in the mining industry as a whole, especially as it relates to everything that's happening in the economy, specifically gold mining. What has been going on in terms of like supply chain constraints, bottlenecks, profits, budgets, things like that? Because coming off of a pandemic, I'm sure that all the mining companies have had their struggles to try to get everything back online. So what's been going on over there?
Great question, and certainly very relevant to even what your listeners will be seeing in the daily lives, is that we're in an inflationary environment, and that is now starting to trickle through to the operating companies and the companies in development.
Mm.
Fortunately for GoldMining Inc, we're not operating at the moment. We're not in an active development or building a mine. We're still in the advanced exploration stages, so that hasn't had a big impact on our bottom line. But I think as an industry as a whole, the mining sector has actually fared relatively well compared to some industries. Coming out of COVID, mining had done well because they had very stringent safety policies, safety programs. So it was able to keep, most sites were able to keep operations going. Maybe it's somewhat reduced capacity, but largely we're able to keep going. So they hit the ground running, and the sites are pretty much all running at full capacity now. Starting to see a little creep with inflation, but it'll be no more and perhaps even a little less than what we're seeing ourselves when we go to the grocery store or the gas
Hmm.
station. So the macroeconomics are important. They certainly influence what we do, but gold mining, as I say, doesn't have any real exposure to that right now. We're in a good, strong position with a healthy balance sheet, good cash on hand, and a strong equity position in Gold Royalty Corp, which was part of our creation of that entity last year.
So now gold does look to be extremely resilient. I've actually been making a bunch of videos talking about the resiliency of gold, especially in hard economic times. I mean, that's one of the reasons why people in the stacking community, that's why they, invest in owning physical silver and gold as well as buying stock in, publicly traded mining companies. So because gold is really resilient, do you think the bull market in commodities in precious metals is going to stay intact, or do you think with like the recent rate hikes, you think that's going to kind of like bash everything down? Like, what do you see happening?
Well, I think what we have seen in general is that everything has been bashed down.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as gold's caught up in that. Yet at the same time, the price of the physical metal really hasn't moved.
Right.
We've been pretty, range bound in that 1800, 1850 per ounce level for a little while, which is a very solid level. And I think what we're going to start to see over the next short while is that people will start analyzing their portfolios and realizing, hey, what are the real value plays in here? What's been oversold compared to the market that perhaps was overdone? And I think the gold equities will really speak to that front, where the fundamentals are still strong there. The metal prices are still good. I think there's some runway for the metal prices to go higher. And so I think there's going to be people as they come back into the sector looking to value and look for value buys. And I think gold equities, especially a company like GoldMining Inc, which is so highly levered to the price of gold, really represents a good value buy right now at these levels, because I think it's oversold, really unsubstantiated based on the metal prices that we're seeing.
Yeah, and I agree with you too, because metals, I track the prices daily, and seeing everything sticking around like between the 1850 mark for an ounce of gold. I was recently talking to a neighbor of mine who is a trader, and he was saying, oh my god, everything is down. And I said, oh yeah, silver and gold have been relatively flat. And he's like, that's a win. He's like, that's a great thing, because everything else is really tanking. And the fact that silver and gold are kind of holding their own, that says a lot about investing in precious metals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we've seen, time and time again over, decades or centuries, in some cases, even millennia, is that gold really does represent a store of value. It's a hedge against inflation. And I think people will realize that. They do realize that. A diversification into gold, or certainly keeping a strong portion of your portfolio in gold, is a very sound investment. I do it, as many of your listeners do it. I think it just makes intuitive sense. And I think, as I say, people will realize there's a bit of a disconnect between what's fallen off, everything in general, and the golds which have been caught up in that same same storm, if you will. People will come back into the metals and realize, hey, this is really a safe haven. It's protecting the value, and I think we'll see a pretty sharp return and a good upside for investors in the gold equities going forward.
There's a big piece of your business too that deals with copper as well, and there's some stackers that actually were posting information on Instagram, and it was showing the prices of silver, gold, platinum, all of these different precious metals. They were dropping, and then you saw copper was the only one that was in the positive. I'm just curious as to what do you have going on right now with your operation as it relates to copper and gold here in the United States?
Well, it's a great question. Certainly, copper has been getting a lot of attention, not just for the electric cars and the infrastructure for that, but across the whole growth profile. Copper, I think, is becoming synonymous with it, part of the green economy. So that's an important part of the economy, running in parallel with our engines of normal growth. And we see a couple of benefits in our portfolio. We're still gold focused, but we have a couple of key projects that do have copper occurring with the gold at the same deposit. And one of those deposits that we're very excited about is our Whistler project, which is in Alaska.
Okay.
So nothing better than having a big project, which is right in the USA. I think it's great. It's a great development opportunity, and we're so excited by it that we're actually preparing ourselves now, and we have created a new entity within our company. Get this, for renaming as US GoldMining Inc. So we're not getting very creative, but we're certainly accentuating what's important to us, which is it's in the US, it's gold based, and it has a significant component of copper in it.
Okay.
So it's an exciting project, which we've brought in a new CEO, a geologist who's got close to 30 years experience exploring globally. He's worked extensively in the north, next door to Alaska and Yukon. He was part of a team led a major gold discovery there of 5+ million ounces. So he's used to working in the north. He's a great hand to lead our activities there under a new vehicle, which we're going to call US GoldMining Inc. And the benefit of that to our shareholders is that gold mining shareholders stand to benefit that by being the largest shareholder of that new entity. But once it goes public, it'll be able to fund itself and means that we won't have dilution to our share count. So it's a great opportunity to grow that. There's about 9.5 million gold equivalent ounces there. So a very large project. Wow. Includes over 1 billion pounds of copper. It's in a great part of the state that's open for development. It's only about 100 miles from Anchorage, so it's an accessible area. And the state themselves are so keen to open this sector up for development. They have what they refer to as a road to resources program, and they're the ones putting up state money to do a road study, a feasibility study for a road that would access right to our property. And putting government money to work for us to help advance our project could really help move it along. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. I actually I have your ticker displayed here for the viewers. It's GLDG, and anybody that is interested, definitely check out the website. I'll put the link down below. And before we leave, Alistair, I have to say your selection of pins to wear are outstanding. You have tremendous style, and I appreciate you wearing that and supporting the channel. That's awesome.
Well, it's a pleasure to be back here. Really enjoyed our last conversation. Same again today. It's been a tough market out there, but I think there's still light at the end of the tunnel. Fundamentals are still very solid for gold and precious metals. And I think with the activities that gold mining's been on to unlock value, it's only got one way to go up from here.
Absolutely. Alistair, it was an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to have you on here again real soon, and you be well.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thanks again.
So there you have it. Alistair Still, CEO of GoldMining Inc. I really appreciate having him on, and I hope that he provided you with a lot of insight with silver and gold, whether it be stacking or investing in companies who produce the stuff. Definitely let me know in the comments down below. What is it that you are doing to safeguard your wealth? Are you stacking physical metals? Are you buying stocks and shares in publicly traded companies who produce silver and gold? Let me know in the comments down below. And I would like to quickly thank these elite channel supporters. And if you haven't already become a channel member, please check out the awesome perks and join today. With that, this is Empire Precious Metals. Until next time, long live the Empire.